Chafing Armor Podcast, Episode 45, 3 Days to Retirement. Welcome back to the Chafing Armor Podcast. I'm your host and devastatingly handsome Dungeon Master, Michael Corley. And with me today is one person who is burning alive, and that is Dare. Dare, tell everyone who you will be playing.
I will be playing Tix Birchmanson, a cleric, a gnome, and somebody who is hopefully pretty cool.
Yes, definitely cooler than you are, and in the part of the world you're in, it is boiling hot right now. And with us also is someone who is freezing because he lives on the other side of the planet. That is Lee. Lee, tell everyone who you will be playing.
G'day everybody, I'm Lee and I am playing Osakai, the Shifter Ranger from the Eldeen Reaches, who is hopefully a lot warmer than the person playing.
Well, we're going to find out exactly how much warmer or colder he may be. Hint, it has to do with cold iron. When we last left our characters, they were victorious against the mysterious figures underground. There were drow, there were sacrifices, there were somehow spell scale sorcerer type drow, there was bugbears being thrown into pits of black pudding and mysterious creatures who had baleful glowing eyes, and yet our adventures were victorious.
It's a typical Friday night.
Exactly. Must be Friday. But we open today in a jail cell. We open with Osakai waking up in jail. And let's get to how we got there. Now, normally we do rolling and we do all kinds of things, but we're just gonna role play this bad boy. And Osakai, after the adventures, you were trying to find and reconnect with this mysterious boar that you had been looking for. Tell me how you would have gone about finding him.
Well, being a ranger, I would have attempted to track him down using my superior tracking skill.
And you, in fact, were easily able to do that. In fact, you were able to backtrack. You had specifically left little bits of food behind you for him to find, and he had done so, but he had not actually come across the gate that had led into the massive structure where the underground lair was. And so you were able to backtrack to him, and as you were just beginning to reach out and connect with him, that's when a hunting party came and tried to kill him. What would you have done?
I probably would have... Nope, I would have shifted and decimated the lot of them.
And for story elements, that is exactly what happened. And essentially, one of the party just got ridiculously lucky because you are a powerful shifter, a massive creature. You are just making your way through them. One of them just got a lucky shot on you. Maybe his uncle was a rogue and he managed to get behind you. He struck you from behind and you were knocked unconscious. And when you woke up, you found yourself in jail. Is there anything that you would try to do when you found yourself in?
Figure out how hurt I am for a start.
Gotcha. Well, you have a massive tender lump on the back of your head. You also think maybe they roughed you up a little bit after you were unconscious, but you do not think you are in terrible shape. You have probably taken what accumulates to about 10 points of damage.
Ouch. Okay, what do I have on me?
You actually are wearing your armor, and you have most of your items, but of course, all of your weapons are missing.
Can I see my weapons or a place where my weapons would be from where I am?
There is a large iron chest that is a little further on. This is a small jail. This has probably 3 individual cells. All of them have multiple people in them, including yours.
So who else is with me in my cell then?
Why, you see 2 orcs that are in the jail with you. In this universe, some tribes of orcs are more civilized and are able to work in society, in the quote unquote good society, though they do tend to be somewhat discriminated against. And so you see 2 orcs that are in here with you. One of them half asleep and one of them just sitting in the corner.
I would like to gauge the strength of the steel bars on this jail cell door and where they are anchored into the wall. Just, see how well maintained this prison is.
You definitely find that the walls are quite strong, and they are built straight into the foundation of the building. So while there is always a possibility that with your incredible strength you might be able to get your way out, there is a fairly low chance of success. This is also a universe where routinely there are creatures who have incredible strength, and so simply having a wooden jail or anything that other than very sturdy is just not going to cut it.
No, that's fair enough.
I'd like you to make a perception check.
Okie dokie. That is a 19 on the die.
So you, looking around, there is a window in your cell, and you do think that the window is perhaps just a little looser than the bars themselves leading outward. And so if you were going to focus your time, it would be that. But also with a 19 perception, your cell has the 2 orcs in it. One of the opposing cells has a tiefling and a halfling and a dwarf. And the dwarf is a woman. And the woman has an eye patch. And you recognize her. And that's where we'll cut to Tix. Tix, it has been just a few days from your recent adventures. You've had time to recover from everything that's going on. And you've been, unsurprisingly, visiting a certain lady friend by the name of Duncan.
Sweet as she is.
And so when we last left off, there was 1 bottle of wine missing from the elven casks of a dozen bottles of aged wine. Just out of curiosity, how many are missing now?
Oh, just the 1. We've progressed past the need for mere alcohol.
Tell me, is there anything that Tix would do beforehand, before going to visit Duncan, who, while she does technically have an office offshore, she has chosen to primarily remain on the ship? In her bunk on the ship.
Well, Tix would have gone and found a public bath to get cleaned up in, and maybe some more formal clothes, and found something romantic to bring her, such as a small silver fishing trinket or sailing ship in a bottle to woo her with, and maybe carved her a little sailing ship also out of a piece of birch as his namesake. So to just slightly impress her and show her his affection.
And life on the road and on the sea is a somewhat smelly one, let us say. So you definitely benefit from the public bath, and you've got your trinkets in hand as you make your way to the good ship Piss Whistle. Never stops being funny. And as you approach the Piss Whistle, you see 2 city guards standing guards at the planks.
As I walk up to the Piss Whistle, make sure that my clerical garb is visible, and proceed to ask the guards what they're doing there. Are they working for Loft? And why are they guarding the plank to the ship? And where is the captain?
They say, Loft? Don't you know Loft has been disgraced? We certainly do not work for him, and at any rate, we work for the city governor. No, we are here standing guard to make sure that no one interrupts the crime scene.
What crime scene?
There has been a murder. Murder of one of the upright citizens of Massgate, has been murdered right on the decks of the good ship Pisswhistle, and the culprit has been taken into the county jail.
Who? Who was murdered, and who's the suspect?
Well, the murderer is the nephew of the person you mentioned, which I find quite curious, known as Bunter. He is the nephew of Loft, and the murderer, why, it is none other than the co-owner of the Pisswhistle, Duncan. We cut back to Osokai, and you are looking face to face with Duncan, the co-owner, now supposedly perhaps the sole owner of the good ship Pisswhistle, and she is staring back at you, and she says, "Well, wasn't expecting to find you here."
Same.
I guess we've both been having a rather rough day, would you say?
Some more than others.
And one of the guards says something, mutters something like, "No talking," or something like that. But he doesn't really seem to be paying much attention at the moment. And she says, so, sailor, what are you in for?
You first.
Oh, not too much, just working with Loft and, potentially my entire fortune being ruined. And, oh, yes, murder. They think I murdered someone.
I was about to say, yeah, he is when Tix last visited, but let's keep that PG, shall we? Instead, Uzukai will go, I can see it.
Oh, can you? You think all dwarves are nothing but nasty brutes, do you?
Not all dwarves.
Well, I have you know that I am entirely well trained, and I am perfectly capable of defending myself. And what's more, I know how to use a weapon, and I'm not afraid to. Though I am terrified of spiders, which is why my sweet Tix was able to save me that one time. But I am capable of taking care of myself, and I certainly have knocked someone's brains out when the need calls. But I was in my bunk the entire night, and I saw nothing, and yet I've been accused of murder.
In your bunk, yeah, I'll bet. This guy's not going to say anything.
And let us cut back to Tix. I would presume you would try to make your way to where Duncan is located?
First, I'm going to find out where the crew is and ask them about their whereabouts and who else was on the ship.
You actually are able to find Brumio, one of the two sailors who were on the Isle of Death with you. You have he's able to tell you that both him and Tun and Captain Jackson were all on the ship when the murder occurred, though none of them actually witnessed it themselves.
Okay, and I want to go find the morgue where Bunt's... Is it Bunt?
Oh, it's Bunter.
Bunter, where Bunter is being iced. Find where the ice house is, the morgue is, and go examine the body.
He is actually still on board.
Okay.
He is still at where he was murdered. And the two guards are not allowing anyone to come on board right now.
No, I asked the guards where their magistrate is, or their chief of security that I need to speak to for access to the body during the investigation.
They do see your clerical robes, which is the only reason they're somewhat polite to you, not very polite. And they tell you that you want to head for the county jail / Scotland Yard of Massgate. You are looking for Constable Zhang.
Constable Zhang. Okay, so I head that way.
Well, in short order, you make your way there, and not just because of your feet, though you get along quite well. And you make your way to the jail / county seat. It's very bustling. There are people coming in and out constantly. There's lots of shouting. There are criminals being pulled inside. Think of a medieval cop, headquarters. And you make your way in, and the front desk officer asks you what your business is.
I am here to see Constable Zhang about the murder aboard the Pisswhistle, and to examine the body as a cleric of Garl Glittergold.
He gives you an odd look at that last one, and he goes, huh. He goes, I think, yeah, okay. And he just gestures back, and you see the back of the head of someone that he tells you that you need to talk to. And the person is currently engaged in very loud conversation with one of his guards.
So I will go up, and what race is he?
He turns around, and he is a, shall we say, friend-shaped. He is a very large, overweight half-elf with huge mutton chops sticking out of each side of his head, very unkempt hair. He has a mace at his side and very disheveled leather armor that denotes his rank as constable. And one of his half-elf ears has actually been just torn off. It's very unpleasant. And on that same side of the head, he has a scar running down his eye. And when he turns around, he goes, "Who the hell are you?"
Constable Zhang. I am Tix Birchmanson. I am a cleric of Garl Glittergold, and I expect to be treated with the respect due my station as you do. And I also am here to get clearance to view the body on the piss whistle.
And he stops, and you see this just like slow gathering of something as he just, takes in this huge breath, and he goes, "Birchman, son, you should know that I am a half-elf who doesn't put up with crap. But I'm also a half-elf who was raised by gnomes." And he reaches and he pulls back part of his vest to his leather, and you see underneath a necklace that has actually got a nugget of Garl Glittergold. And he says, "Come this way!" And he turns and he kind of slaps you on the back. You can't tell if it's angrily to move you along or if it's cordially. It's hard to tell. And he takes you back to the holding cells, and there you see Duncan, and there you see Osokai. In two different cells facing one another.
I see Duncan, and I walk over to her very briskly and take her hand through the bars and ask her how she is doing. And I look over at Osokai. I give a short laugh, figures, and ask Duncan if she knows who was on the ship that might have had a reason to get rid of Bunter.
She says, "Oh, I'm so glad that you came. That's the problem, is they think that I'm the only one who has a motive, because the truth is, the less lost relatives there are, the more likely I am to inherit all of the business of the shipping. I own half, and he owned half, and when he died, it actually went to his brother. His brother's name is Cass. But he has two nephews as well. His brother has two children. And apparently Bunter was coming to see me, but I never saw him. I never actually saw him. I just heard the commotion. And when I come outside, I find him murdered on the ground, but murdered with my maul. And you've seen it before. It's hanging on her wall, and it was clearly not ornamental. And in fact, you found out later on that she is absolutely terrified of spiders, which is why she was so ineffectual when the spiders attacked. And again, I did say before, she's not a fighter. She's not like a trained warrior. But she's also not a wuss either. She could certainly pull out that maul and defend herself, which anyone who has to cross the sand swallow seas would have to be able to.
God, I love a strong woman.
And is one of the many things that attracted you to her. And she says that she doesn't know who else would want him murdered. She says, potentially, if his brother or his father were to both die... if either his father or his brother were trying to take out all of the competition, they would then own the half of the company. But she honestly doesn't know. She's never experienced. She has almost no interaction with them, so she doesn't know them very well. She just knows they exist. But she is being blamed because it was her murder weapon, her weapon that was used to murder Bunter.
Who all was on the ship besides Jackson and what are the other two?
Brumio and Tuntun.
And Tuntun.
She says there was a few other crew coming in and out, but we didn't. Everyone had shore leave, so they all had, they were coming and going and as they pleased. There wasn't much security on the boat, which is apparently how Bunter just came strolling on, apparently with aim to speak to me, but he never did.
Well, don't worry, sweetheart. We'll get you out of here, and we'll find out what's going on as soon as we can. I look over to Osakai. Hey, bear boy, what are you in here for now?
Osakai looks at Tix and says, "Oh, they're just locking me up on to keep me from killing the next person that calls me bear boy."
And you actually hear a chuckle from behind, and it's Constable Zhang. He's like, "Oh, it's a good one." So anyway, this is how it stands. I am planning on retiring in 3 days, but I will not have a murder of an upstanding citizen of Massgate sitting on the books before I retire. So here's what I'm going to do: is 2 sunsets and a morning from now, she's going to be executed for the murder of Bunter. But if you can find evidence as a cleric of Glittergold, then I will consider that evidence and potentially set her free if you can find who was truly the murderer. As for this one, you seem to know he was caught poaching on private lands, and so likely he'll just be flogged, possibly have one of his hands removed.
Ooh, flog me, daddy.
What's the bail to get him out without losing any appendages?
Well, why do you want him?
Because he might be helpful in tracking down the murderer.
At this point, Osakai will step forward and go, "Please don't let him take me. I'll be good.
Make a deception check.
That's a 20.
He, Constable Zhang kind of puffs himself up and he goes, "Oh, I see how this works. You fear the righteous man, as well you should. There are few who are more terrifying than a true follower of Glittergold." And he immediately reaches and grabs his just ridiculously oversized keys that have, 10 times more keys than is needed to open these locks. And he unlocks yours and swings it open. And he goes, "All right, you go with him and you help in the investigation. If you can help this investigation and I get a satisfactory report, I'll be willing to let things slide. But you watch yourself." What's your name? He's talking to you, Osakai.
Osakai just growls.
Shifters. All right, get out of here, and don't come back without evidence. And he hands you, Tix, a mark, which is sort of like a badge, and it's an official insignatory. Basically, he's deputizing you. You are now essentially a deputy of Massgate, and it should give you access to the crime scene.
And I turn to Constable Zhang and I say, "Thank you, Constable. Garl Glittergold will see us to a right and proper finishing of this situation. And now you know why I refer to him as Bear Boy."
Osakai reaches out and smacks Tix. That's a 20.
2 20s in a row, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that definitely hits. Go ahead and are you trying to do for damage?
Oh no, I'm trying to hurt him.
Go ahead and roll. I believe that'll be 1d4.
That's a 4.
4. You just resoundingly just slap. Ticks, and he spins, and both Constable Zhang pulls out his mace, and 4 guards who were just, incredibly bored, just sitting in the corners, all stand up and all pull out either swords or get pikes at the ready, just instantly, just shoom, and they're ready to attack. Tix, what would you like to do?
I get up and dust myself off and say, "See, the weak-minded have this problem of following directions, or being hospitable, but he will serve his purposes. You can let him go.
Are you sure you don't want me to just take off one of the hands now? I suppose it might get in the way of his tracking.
Maybe later.
All right. Well, I suppose you. What would you like? Would you like to say anything else to Duncan before leaving?
I go over and squeeze her hand through the bars and say, "We'll be back as soon as possible. Stay strong."
She says, "Oh, thank you, Tix. I never doubted that you would come for me, and I know that you'll find out what's truly going on." And Zhang says, "Birchman Sen, don't let me down."
And I nod and turn and say, "Well, you gonna come, bear boy?" And I walk on out, dodging out of Osokai's reach.
You see this little shape just whoop, like almost not quite, but almost under the legs of one of the guards as he makes his way out. And by the way, it is full night now, so you have this night, you have the next day, and then at the dawn of the next day is when she will be executed.
Osakai turns to Zhang, gets right up close and says, "If he turns up dead, you know where to look," and walks out.
Okay. He seems a little nonplussed by that. He doesn't quite know what to say. I assume, are y'all heading back to the good ship Pisswhistle?
Yes.
Nope.
Okay. Oh, no. Where are you going, Osakai?
Osakai leaves the police station, or the guardhouse, and turns to Tix and growls and walks away.
Okay.
Really, you ungrateful little carpet? I head over to the piss whistle after I shake my head and leave him behind.
Okay. As you're coming back to the piss whistle, you hear the sounds that you heard when first getting off the ship, which is the sounds of people hawking their wares, and you actually see Volmer, who is the aquatic elf who was actually leading the attempt to take your chicken hut, which, by the way, Penton has right now. He went with Morezi to pick up some items that they had left at the beginning of y'all coming to Mascate. So that's why you're all on foot right now. But you hear Volmer shouting, "Magic items! I buy them! I give you good gold for them!" as you come by.
And he's wanting the chicken hut?
Well, he tried to take it because because Loft told him that it was his property, and he tried to take it with his sort of goons. But they did quickly back off when it turned out that it was yours. And y'all successfully made them think that it was going to basically explode.
Can I do an insight check to see if I think he might have been somebody who was on board the ship? Went on the ship with Bunting.
Go ahead
Bunter.
And give me an insight check.
That is a not natural 20.
Well, you can't really tell just from him hawking, like, if he did it or if he knew something, but based on because you've been coming back and forth to the ship for a few days now, it's pretty likely that he would see who was coming on and off the ship, because the various docks kind of merge in a general area, and so he would more or less see who was coming and going.
I'll sidle on over to him and stand there, see if he makes eye contact and if he acts suspicious, and then I'll get a little bit closer and ask him who he saw go on and off the ship.
He says, "Oh, looking for information, I understand. How much is this information worth to you?"
It can be worth quite a bit if you're not incriminating yourself.
"I'm entirely innocent of anything. I'm simply here offering to let people give up their cursed and magical items so that they can go on with their gold to the end."
Or coveting those that other people have.
Oh, goodness gracious, I would never covet anything in my life. Mm-hmm. I simply am a honest businessman.
Who did you see go on after Bunter?
Well,
convince me that it wasn't you.
And he sees the badge that you have on, and let me see. Rolls. He tries to kind of hem and haw that there's just so many people here that I couldn't possibly. But he's not doing a very good job. What he eventually confesses is that after Bunter came on, he saw at least 2 people leave. He isn't for sure. He couldn't say for sure because he wasn't really, watching for it. But he's pretty sure he saw a thin human leave the ship, and he also thinks he saw an elf who was wrapped in furs and leather leave the ship. And speaking of furs and leather, Osokai, by the way, you have had your weapons returned to you, Osokai. Mm-hmm. What are you doing now?
Osokai is going to head to the seedier regions of the city to do his own investigation.
Okay.
Murder is not exactly something that or a murderer is not exactly someone you just find on the street, and someone must know something. Why not the one place that you would expect a murderer to go?
And where would you expect a murderer to go? I mean, I know you're going to the seedier part of town, which you certainly have been able to scope out in the a little less than a week that y'all have been here. But is there any particular type of place you'd like to go to?
My guess would be one of the more seedy taverns, if not for the person there, someone who may know, because people like to talk, even if they are doing illicit and evil deeds, they still like to talk.
It is quite true. And so you come to a place that is called Grundle's Inn, and in fact, Morezi actually tried to go here during one of the earlier adventures, but they told her that she couldn't come in with her lizard, and she immediately turned and left. And so y'all didn't meet anybody from inside here from earlier. My poor characters, they went unused. You open and you're hit with the smells of a tavern, the smoke and the smoke of smoking, and of course just unbelievable amounts of beer and unwashed both human and inhuman bodies. You see several figures inside. You see what appears to be the bartender / owner, who is a female tiefling. You can see a human bard who is strumming on a very large lute. I see what you think might be maybe even a paladin, who is a halfling, who is sitting in one corner nursing a beer. Just a few that catch your attention.
Interesting place for a paladin to be.
Very much so.
Osokai will walk to the bar, or the bar, making his presence relatively well felt. He's a large guy. And will order a mug of mead, will down the mug of mead, and will roar to the rest of the tavern, 5 gold coins to the one who can tell me a riveting tale of murder.
And the bar, as I've said, in this universe there are no records, but you hear as the music stops, the bard who is playing is... and everyone turns and looks at you, because this is the kind of bar where people kind of keep to themselves. And the bard looks up at you. He is actually, they're quite rare in this world, but not unknown. He is actually wearing smoke tinted glasses, what effectively would be sunglasses in our world, even though it's nighttime. And he has what amounts to a pirate scarf over his head, and just very loose-fitting garments. And he looks up at you and he says, "Would you like me to sing a song of murder?"
Osokai will flip the bard a single gold coin.
And he, without dropping his lute at all, he just instantly catches it and it disappears into a pocket.
And instead will say, "Nay, bard, I wish for a story more personal than performance worthy. The right story will get a glittering bonus, and I will hold up the diamond." And the bar goes silent. You could hear a pin drop. All you hear is the crack of one of the logs in the fire snapping, and every eye is on you. And the paladin actually gets up, and he just kind of
pulls his sword out a little bit, not threatening towards you, by the way, turning, just kind of like making a turn around, like ready for trouble, and letting people know that, like, hey, if you start something, I'm going to finish it. And he says to you, I don't know if it's super safe for you to do that, friend.
Ozukai nods, stands on the bar, and very, very deliberately shifts, and with his voice lowered, his claws out, says, if you want it, come and get it. Otherwise,
tell me a story.
And with that, we will cut to Tix. Tix, what would you like to do now?
After I finish gathering the information from the salesman, I will head over to the piss whistle, get the guards to allow me onto the boat to see the crime scene.
They see your patch and they immediately, step aside and let you onto the gangplank. And you're able to make your way up. And it doesn't take long to see what they are keeping people from coming to. It is a murder. And you see a human male, appears to be relatively young based on the skin. Hard to tell because most of his head is completely smashed in. And in fact, you can even see where the planks underneath are broken partially, where the force of the blow just smashed his head like a pumpkin. He is wearing very fine clothes. He apparently still has his, coin purse on him, and he is very, very dead. And near him lays the maul, the large hammer-like weapon that you know to be Duncan's, and it is matted with blood and hair.
And so I'm going to do an investigation check and see if there is information or evidence that I can discern from handle where the perpetrator would have touched the maul, and was he hit from the front or behind?
Very good questions. Go ahead and make a investigation roll.
And that is a 16.
16, not bad. So you looking over this, and you discover several things. You have been in many battles, but you don't think that he was hit from the front. You think that this impact that smashed his skull most likely came from behind, because his head is on the ground, and the back of the head is what is most badly damaged. There isn't much left of his face, but his face is still there, if you see what I'm saying.
Right.
So you really do think this blow came from behind. You discover you're not really sure, but again, with your background in healing and medicine, you kind of think maybe there should be more? Like, you think, like, there should be more blood? There should be more goop, for lack of a better word. There is blood splatters on the ground, don't get me wrong. But, like, you think that, like, if a human being just had his head smashed in right here with a maul, there should be just a lot more blech all over the place. You do also see a faint trace of sand, and it seems to be going towards her bunk, towards Duncan's bunk.
Okay. I'm going to check the sand out, see if it has any significance other than being sand, and then head towards her bunk and see if there's any more evidence.
You make your way into the bunk, and you find spiders! No, I'm just kidding. I just couldn't resist. You make your way into the bunk, and you see just this slight shifting of sand, and fortunately the winds have been low tonight, so otherwise it just would have blown away. And you, as far as you can tell, this is not unlike the sand you'd find at the beach, but you notice that it's got a little more dirt in it. So either the person walked through dirt or walked through sand at varying intervals, or this is from that sort of transitional area where the beach becomes the, earth. You do actually find something in the brazier. She has a brazier where it's very, very well contained, where she can have heat and light, and possibly even like cook like some toast or something like that, you see a torn glove laying in the brazier, and it is partially burnt.
I'll go over and try and pull it out and see how big it is, and if it would fit a dwarf, or would it be more human or elven sized? Long and narrow or wide?
You have come to appreciate the beautiful form that is Duncan, with her soft, wispy, peach fuzz-like beard and her stocky, firm yet still feminine frame. She got big old squat fingers. She got thick fingers that are a dwarves, that are used to heavy labor when necessary.
Right.
And this is the glove of someone with very slender fingers. Either a slender human, possibly an elf.
Okay, so I will tuck that away in one of my pouches as evidence. Also, I will find a little pouch to put some of the sand and dirt in as evidence. And then I will head out back down the shore, question, what's his name? The Volmer, about where somebody on the shoreline who is trying to hide would be, and if somebody was acquiring a already dead body to replace somebody else. And I'll hold up 5 gold coins in front of him.
He goes, well, I tell you true, friend, I wouldn't quite think of where to get a dead body, but if I was looking for people to do such a thing for me, I would likely either check with the local, shall we say, organized crime, shall we say, or I would head to one of the seedier inns.
I hold up another coin. Where would these seedier inns and organized crime be in this city?
Well, the first place I would try would be Grundle's Inn. There are some very shady characters that come in and out of there.
Okay. Where is it?
And he gives you directions. You have a vague sense of where it is. You haven't been to that part of the city very much.
Right.
You don't think you'd have any trouble finding it.
I drop the coins in his hand, and I hold up another 2. I would be interested in any information about who is hanging around the ship in the next 2 days. And so, if you keep me apprised, there may be more where this comes from.
Very good. I will be delighted to do so, and a pleasure doing business with you, sir.
I'm sure. And so I start heading towards Grundle's Inn, and as I get to Grundle's Inn, I'm going to cast Sanctuary on myself.
So you come to Grundle's Inn, and you open the door as you cast Sanctuary, and you feel that protection surrounding you, or protecting you from all physical harm. As you walk inside, and there is a massive bar fight going on. It just literally as you open the door, a figure just flies past you, and you literally see them alter their trajectory as the Sanctuary spell prevents you from taking damage. They whoop, and they land onto the cobblestones, and there is a massive fight going on inside. And in the center of it, you see Osokai, and I want everyone to roll for initiative.
All right.
And Osokai, what did you get?
My 22.
22. So that is for Osokai. And Tix?
Tix got half of that, so I'm at 11.
Well, the various denizens, one of them got higher than you, but the rest actually got lower. So that will go to Osokai first. What happened, Osokai, was the bard was actually trying to give you information. He was trying to tell you. He introduced himself. He said, "My name is Fugly, and I am more than happy to help you. In fact, I recognize you. I've even started to spread around a little song about your interesting hut that goes dancing about." And you have a vague memory of hearing this bard sing as y'all went by one time, boom, 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 in your chicken hut. But Fugly starts to tell you, and that's when several denizens from the inn say, "Enough talk, that diamond's mine!" And they just pounce upon you. But you are faster than they are. The ones who are pouncing upon you is actually a very large human, and he has a sword in his hand, just a boring, sellsword adventurer, if you might see. The next one is actually another halfling. He's got 2 daggers at the ready, and after him you see a half-orc. And even bigger than Morezi, and Morezi's pretty big as far as half-orcs go. And he has very long staff, actually, which sort of surprises you. And they are all just charging you, coming straight at you. Osokai, what would you like to do?
Let's go by rules of nature, shall we?
Okay.
Biggest man falls, everybody talk. So
The biggest one is definitely the half-orc.
So the half-orc is my target, and the half-orc is going to face the full brunt of my 2 claw attacks.
Okay. Quick question. What are you doing with the diamond while you're doing these 2 claw attacks?
Oh, I put the diamond back in my pack, in my
Okay.
belt pouch after I revealed
Just checking. Just wanted to get a sense of where it was.
it. Yep. And
That's a free action.
the belt pouches are inside my breeches. I'm not stupid. Plus, they get in the way of a bowstring. It makes sense to keep them elsewhere. So, I'm going to attempt to put down our friend the big boy.
Okay.
That is... Holy crap, that's a 24.
That will hit.
And my second attack is a 22. So, I'm going for his throat. That's a 4 with the first one. And... a 4 with the second one, so that's 8 total. Wait, that was a critical. My apologies. I just realised I rolled a 20, and didn't actually say I'd rolled a 20. I just calculated it up. It's been a while. So the first one was a critical, the second one was not.
So what is the total damage between the 2?
So that's 12.
You just, as he comes in, your hands crisscross each other and just fuck! And you see like a chunk of his throat just poof, and blood is just spraying out. And unlike Morezi, who doesn't like to talk about it, but she has red blood, this half-orc very much has green blood, and green blood just sprays onto the bar behind you. And a not insignificant amount getting on you as well, as he just claw, claw, claw. But he is not dead, but he is in really bad shape. And that will actually bring it to the human with the sword. And he rolls a 3. So he actually slips on some of the blood as he's coming towards you. And that will bring it to you, Tix.
Tix is going to walk over to the half-orc that he just dropped and throw a bandage around the blood to keep him from bleeding out, and then walk over to the bar and try and find a glass that doesn't have blood on it, and 2 glasses, and pour some beers, and yell at Osokai to try not to kill anybody that might be of use.
Get bent, Tiny.
As the very supportive response comes back to you. As you do, give me a quick medicine check, or doctorin check for this guy.
Okay, that is modified 17.
Okay, and that also is part of that. You get, he's in the middle of combat, but you get him to understand, I'm trying to save your life here, and he is. I don't know if I'm dying or not, and so he allows you to do that. He also effectively comes out of combat as you do so. That now brings it to the halfling, who gets a 18. Will that beat your armor, Osokai?
Just.
Yes, he had a +1. Otherwise, he would not have done so. Oh, no, he actually has 2 daggers, but the other one is a 14. So I assume that's not going to do it.
No.
Right. And so he does a total of 6 points of damage. So that means you were actually at 16 points of damage for the 10 that you had taken from earlier. As he slashes at your belly area, you think maybe he's trying to get to where the diamond is, where he saw you put it, but he was not successful and just slashes in. And that will actually bring it back to you, Osugai.
Well, Tiny gets a... Oh no, halflings are considered they're considered a small creature.
Yes.
You know what? Osukai is enjoying himself, and he's going to, as the slash misses my breeches and nicks my belly, Osukai is going to, not there, and is going to bodily pick up the halfling and throw him out the nearest window.
Okay, I need you to make a roll to grapple.
Oh, goody, grapple is my best combat. Oh, yeah. That is a 24.
24. Okay, you just one-hander, just lay onto his, leathers at his collar and just hoik! And he's, And go ahead and, it's stretching it a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and let you make the roll to throw as well at the same time. Just go ahead and give me a dexterity roll.
That's a 15 on the die. Dex is +3, so 18.
Okay, and you just fling backwards, and you just see this little form go, "Aye!" Perhaps you've imagined doing that to Tix before. And he just smashes through the closest window, and it looks like it hurt because those windows have sort of thin iron bands that run in and out of the windows, and he smacks into them. You think he's probably out of the fight, you would assume. And that actually brings it to the human. I'm just going to make a little roll here. Well, he decides to go for it, and he rolls a 4. So tell me how he doesn't hit you as he comes at you.
Okay. While still on my momentum of throwing tiny number 2 out the window, I will just pirouette delicately out of his blade.
Okay, and there's that slow motion as the blade goes over your head. And that brings it to you, Tix. You are ministering to this gentleman and having yourself a beer. And is there anything else you'd like to do?
I have the second beer. Are you going to finish fooling around and come have a beer? Or are you going to continue this so-called investigation?
And that will bring it to you, Osukai.
All right. I am going to attempt it again, and I'm going to attempt to bodily pick up our human friend who just attacked me on my swing around, and I'm going to throw him at Tix. That's wow. Okay, please, dice. Please, that's a 20. That's a critical. Oh my, so that's a 28.
Okay, I mean, you absolutely succeed. You do need to use both hands because he is a full-sized human. But unlike with the halfling, but you just hoik him up into the air. And again, I'm bending the rules a little bit for this bar fight, but I will allow you to make the dexterity throw at this time as well.
Okay. That's a 19, so that's a 22.
Okay. That, as they say, hits. However, what you did not know is that Tix has Sanctuary on him. And so you watch as you just hurl this human, just, and his sword goes flying out of his hand. And just this weird little of energy ripples, and he moves slightly to the side and just cracks his skull against the edge of the bar and just goes down like a sack of potatoes.
Still achieved what I was going for.
You did indeed. You did indeed. He is knocked completely unconscious. For all ascension purposes, the bar fight is over. The tiefling pokes her head out and she goes, "Oh, well, this is just great." And you see her reach back and pull out a bucket and a mop, and she starts just, like this is just, Tuesday, and she starts mopping up the green blood all over the floor.
Osukai will dust himself down a little bit, and with a great big smile on his face, shout out, "You're all terrible storytellers." And he will leave.
Okay. You make your way out. Tix, is there anything that you would like to do while you're in the bar?
I look around and see if there's anybody conscious, and I go, now that old Grumblebutt has left, is there anybody that would like to illuminate me as to a human and an elf who have been over to the Piss Whistle? And I put a couple of gold coins on the bar next to the beer stein.
Sorry, before I leave, I'm going to go over to the tiefling, and I'm going to give her the diamond.
You're going to give her the diamond. Okay. Just checking, it is worth approximately 1,000 gold.
I had a good rousing fight, and honestly, this place could use some upgrades. Spend it wisely.
She looks at you with just astonishment, and she gives you a little bow, and she says, my name is Kakrath Gulletmonger, and you, sir, can drink for free here whenever you want. And she says, Tinder, and she points over to the halfling paladin. She goes, I'm hiring you as protection for tonight. And he bows and he goes, Milady, I will keep you safe while you get that to the proper place. Yeah. She is just in cloud nine. Now she's like humming a little tune while she's mopping up the green blood. As that's more money than she'd likely see in a year.
Yeah, I'll put a couple of gold coins on the counter next to the other stein of beer that I drew and wait for Osokai to clear out and any heads to poke out and say, so, he was looking for a story. I'm looking for some information, and you're less likely to get hurt my way.
The bard comes up to you, the human bard with the smoked glasses and headscarf comes up to you, and he says, you don't happen to have any of those big diamonds, do you?
He had our only one.
And by the way, you've never seen that diamond before. You have no idea where Osokai got it, or if it was real or what. You just... But he says he's very happy to take your gold, and he says, I absolutely know something that would interest you. Not long ago, I don't know about the humans, because of course Mascade is mostly humans, and there's plenty who match that description, but there was a very unusual elf who came in here, a woman, and she was dressed all in leathers and furs, and she was muttering to herself, and she seemed very dangerous, and she was talking nonsense, to be perfectly honest. And when I got a little closer to her, because that's how I get my good songs, is seeing weird people, I saw that she had a vague kind of mist coming off of her at random intervals. It was this weird green mist, and she kept muttering to herself, the sword, the sword, the sword in the tree. And from what I heard her talking about, she was talking about a tree that was just a little off the shore, not too far from where that one fella, that loft, where his estate is. And she kept talking about a certain tree there.
Interesting.
And he kind of gives you a based on what he could tell from what she was saying, where he thinks that might be.
So there are no people with her, tall people, human people?
No, she was definitely alone.
I finish my beer, and I head on out towards Loft's estate.
And you head out that way. Where are you heading, Osokai?
Osokai is going to get himself patched up.
Are you doing that yourself, or are you trying to find a healer?
I'm going to try and find a healer.
And you head to find a healer, which is not too hard in a city of this size. Tix, are you heading out? You're heading out towards the Loft estate?
Yes.
Several things are happening around y'all. There is somewhere in the city a thin man, a human, who has secrets that he would prefer to keep to himself. There's a boar who is snuffling about in the woods not far from where Tix is heading. And there is a woman who has a look in her eye, a look of darkness and madness and death. And she is waiting for you, Tix. as you head to the woods. And that's where we'll end Chafing Armor, episode 45. Thank you both for playing this very unconventional Dungeons & Dragons episode.
Thank you for hosting.
It's been fun.
Yes, I can honestly say y'all went in very different directions. First of all, I want to give a shout out to a wonderful real-life bard. His name is Fugly. And I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Fugly told me a few months ago that he listens to Chafing Armor. And you, my fine folks, if you reach out to me or one of our compatriots and let us know you're listening, you never know. You might find yourself in an episode. So let's all say hi, Fugly.
Hi, Fugly. Thank you much for the information.
You bet. I'm sure he was glad to be one of our wonderful NPCs. And we'll find out more about him and this mysterious figures when we roll with you soon.